NABC, and today's topic will be Brexit, British exit. And what are the British exiting from, you may ask? They are exiting from the European Union.
The United Kingdom made the decision to exit the European Union on June 23, 2016, because of a referendum from the citizens of the UK deciding that in the best interest of themselves and their country, they should exit from the EU. From the referendum, 51.9% of the British citizens decided to leave, while 48.1% had voted to stay. You could say it was a pretty close race.
However, leaving the EU would cause a split between the citizens of the UK and change the everyday life of the British people. The EU already provided many services to the UK, the EU being a unified and monetary group comprised of 28 European countries. The EU also allowed for a free flow of goods and people, with the exception of random checkpoints for crime and drugs, as well as transmitting state-of-the-art technologies to its members, and members benefiting from its environmental protection, research and development, and energy. Since the referendum on Brexit, it has since divided Britain because of the conflicting views that Britain should stay in the EU for its benefits, or they should leave because of the things they do not agree with that come from the EU. At the beginning of Brexit, only 9% of people thought it would be bad, but now, as Brexit has taken 3 years to come into effect, around 20% of people dislike Brexit, deepening the divide of should we stay or should we go. The impact Brexit will have in the world is large because of globalization. Through globalization, the world has become so interconnected that when a major decision is made by one influential country, such as the UK, it affects many other countries because they have become reliant on one another. Therefore, if Brexit does occur, any negative or positive effects will impact the other countries that have working relationships set up with the UK, such as the United States, Canada, Mexico, Japan, Turkey, Morocco, and many more. Because of the large influence the UK has over other countries, an unsuccessful transition can be bad for its trading countries.
There are 4 choices within the Brexit deal, which is either no deal, soft Brexit, hard Brexit, or checkers deal. Based off of the information our broadcasting station gathered, we have certain implications pertaining to Britain's immigration system due to Brexit. Theresa May, Prime Minister, is striving for a softer Brexit deal. With the soft Brexit, there would be little changes within air travel, but moving abroad would be as easy as in Northern Ireland. After 2020, in order to work in the UK, a visa will most likely be needed. British perceptions of immigration and foreigners will be that there is going to be a reduction of these people after leaving the European Union. However, their perceptions could change to where it would have those levels brought to sustainable ones.
As Angelina has stated earlier, Prime Minister Theresa May is going for a soft Brexit, but Parliament has not agreed to her deal proposals. If a deal was not struck with Parliament by Prime Minister Theresa May, the UK would leave the EU immediately with no transition period and no guarantee of citizens' rights for residents in the UK, because they did not create a deal by their deadline. This is because if there is not a deal, the UK as a whole believes they should take what they will have to leave the EU without a deal, unless they decide ultimately not to leave. However, that's another can of worms. This potential outcome of no deal would cause a short-term disruption in business with an extensive backlog of trade between businesses within the UK and ones outside of its borders, such as food vendors who may have shortages of produce if they receive supplies from other countries, or stockpiles of medicine, because for the past 40 years or so, the EU has been providing the UK with its medication. The UK would also now have to trade with the EU under the World Trade Organization's rule, and may have to establish new trade agreements with other countries. However, the UK will be able to create their own laws without input from a consensus of other countries who may not be facing the same challenges as them, or want the same things for their countries.
As Alyssa had said earlier, there would be changes brought to its trading countries. It is very easy for the US to trade with the EU because all of the countries are in one spot. If the UK leaves the EU, then it would make trade relations more difficult and more time consuming because the US would have to trade with the EU as well as the UK. US invested billions of dollars into the UK. If Brexit does happen, then the US's shares with foreign investors will become more difficult in the beginning because Britain will be establishing everything and it will also hurt business growth with Britain.
The advantages of a hard Brexit versus a soft Brexit Prime Minister Theresa May seems to be going for is that a hard Brexit would mean a clean break from the EU and a total move on with nearly no dependencies so that the UK could establish themselves. As well, the UK could focus on building a stronger economy for themselves and to restore their democracy. It would also be better for smaller businesses and farms that trade and sell within the UK's borders because they would not need to face the challenge of tariffs that the businesses and farms outside of the UK would have to now face. As well, the government would have more freedom to create their own rules and regulations for the country.
A disadvantage would be that the UK would part ways from the EU's single market, customs union, and courts of justice. Therefore, the harder the Brexit, the more ties that will be cut. Also, another disadvantage, amongst other things, would be that businesses importing goods and businesses within the UK exporting goods would now have additional tariffs. Another disadvantage would be a hard physical border could be established between Northern Ireland, which is a part of the UK, and the Republic of Ireland. But the EU would most likely not allow this to occur. So now here's an opinion on Brexit from a British resident.
Hello, thank you. With a harder Brexit, the UK economy would be allowing them to make more trade deals with whomever they want and would increase the money flow into the UK. However, tariffs would rise the cost of exports that would hurt exporters as their goods became higher priced in Europe. A harder Brexit would mean hard borders and they can still do whatever they want with their trade deals and grow the economy of the UK. But it would affect the trade between Europe and the UK, people who send their goods to the different countries. Now, if there was a softer Brexit, then the UK would still get some of the privileges the other EU members have and will be subject to fewer border checks. The softer Brexit approach would allow more free migrating between the countries, and people do work in different countries that they live in. So they work here and they go to Europe and go live there, vice versa. I think the softer Brexit is better because it won't really have that much big of an impact on the migrating. And a lot of people work and live in different countries, like I mentioned before, because they are right next to each other. However, I think we need to wipe our hands clean of this whole situation and make a clean breakaway. All right? We need to move on. They need to move on, build a bridge and get over it, okay? Now, we need to move on and make our economy strong. We need to make more trade deals.
Because we are one news broadcasting station, doesn't mean we get our information from one source. Many broadcasting stations are biased in how they portray their information. Here at NABC, we strive to get plenty of valid information from various sources for our viewers because you are impacted too. Thank you.
This program was made possible by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and by contributions to your station from viewers like you. Thank you.